What do you see as the main challenge, and you or your customers, or your crew, adopting cloud-based over on-prem workflows? Because you're actually sitting right in the middle of this ginormous on-prem facility that you're making cloud, right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the things that I've already mentioned. There's the expectation for people who work in traditional media, or people like me who worked in physical on-prem stuff prior to getting the opportunity to work in the cloud, where I expect things to look perfect in real time, no latency, no frame or two of latency between when I press a button and when I see something happen on a screen. So I think that's going to be a huge not deterrent, but challenge that I'm not sure how physically possible it is to resolve, just because of the amount of time it takes for things to go around the internet and come back to you. So I think that's my biggest frustration with cloud versus on-prem at this point.
Okay.
So I'm going to take more of a business view versus a technical view, but I think one of the things that we're seeing is things like just buying processes haven't evolved from the hardware era to the cloud era. So for example, you used to buy multi-million-dollar system that you'd amortize over several years. Well, now you're buying cloud, you might be using it just for a one-day event. You don't need to go through that same complex RFP, POC process that might have taken 18 months, right? You can kind of light things up quickly, test them, use them, and adapt much more quickly. And we haven't seen kind of the business mentality shift to the cloud era. So there's this sort of old processes in place that were designed for a hardware era that haven't yet adapted. And I think that's going to continue to be weird in this hybrid world.
I agree 100%. I'll think there's a real case. So my team is so used to having vMix servers in our on-prem facilities, right? And we have this software called Virtual Video Control Room, and you spin up production modules, vMix modules, Teams modules, right? Well, you have to shut them down or you're spending money. And there's this whole idea of guys, no, and so you're seeing products that, I'm sure with LiveView, you guys are realizing this too with Control, where it's your customer's spending money, you want to make sure you build UI and UX that allows them to utilize the business model in a way that's smart. That's not just just keep it on all the time. Because most broadcasters just keep everything on all the time. I know that for sure. You want to speak to that a little bit, Mike?
Yeah, I think I'll come back to challenges for a second, but I think the biggest challenges, I think Ben mentioned it earlier, which is comms. You can't really do comms very effectively through the cloud today in a way that works, I think, efficiently for your team. Audio in general, I think, all the audio capabilities that you have in your local studio, in your racks that you've built, your audio capabilities don't exist. And there's a lot of parts of your production environment yet that haven't completely migrated to the cloud yet, right? And I don't know, it's going to take some time, I think, for some of that stuff, right? It's hard to find if you're doing sports, it's hard to find instant replay in the cloud that works, reliably and integrates with your production solution. So I think in general, people think of the cloud as cloud switching and cloud graphics. That's what they think of, I think, when they think of cloud production. But there's lots of different pieces of production in general that's going to take some time to get into the cloud and to get integrated into the whole workflow. But I think it will happen, honestly. I think it's moving in that direction. Whether we can ever get to the point where you have zero latency between everything, I think that's a question. But
I mean, we need alternate physics. Science doesn't let us do it. But yeah, I think we're 5 years away. I don't think we're months away. I don't think we're 2 years away. I think we're 5 years away from having all of these pieces work a lot better than they currently do.
Jumping ahead.
Do I?
I don't know about the 5 years. I think things will keep getting better for sure, right? Whether they get to the Ben Ratner necessary level in the next couple of years, I don't know.
I want a lot of things.